My name is Arthur Igeria. I'm the chair of the board of directors for the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration. I'm talking to you today at the first National ADR conference that has been hosted by the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration. We at the NCIA are happy to have held this conference, and we are happy that it has succeeded. The attendance has been good, and one of the things that we have achieved so far is to raise the visibility of the NCIA.
ADR mechanisms can be flexible, and I say can be because we've seen they can be the opposite. They also can be cost effective. We've seen arbitrations that are very, very expensive. They can also be expeditious. You can agree, because of the principle of party autonomy, that we are going to start an arbitration today and finish today.
We have received a lot of feedback from people who've seen these events on TV, and they are actually developing a better understanding of what arbitration is about, which is one of the aims of this conference today.
I think we've had, and I've been discussing with the participants here today, some of the discussions that have happened over the last day and a half, even at the opening breakfast on Monday. And I think that as Kenya is really emerging as a destination for arbitration, it'd be great to hear from practitioners as well on any thoughts, ideas, what you would like to see in the policy itself, because it will help guide or improve upon the commercial arbitration sector for yourselves. Are there any thoughts on that component?
There is a growing suggestion that we have specialized, and I'm addressing the commercial aspect, specialized arbitration courts or specialized judges who handle arbitration. Now I want you to kindly address the possibility that if you did that, having the same problem that arbitration itself has had. Independent tribunals, awards which are issued that are not public, do not build jurisprudence. If we then limit arbitration to particular courts or a group of judges, do we not face the likelihood of also having a situation where we do not develop jurisprudence?
I believe, and I did say that arbitration is connected with the court, in that when you are carrying out an arbitration, you can go to court for interim measures, and you can also go to court for enforcement or setting aside of the award. Having said that, the court that is specified is the High Court. If you look at the New York Convention, what was envisaged in 1958 was one court and not a set of individuals. I would really be opposed to having a group of individuals, say 2 judges, who handle arbitration matters, because what will happen is that they will take jurisprudence to one side, which could be very good or very bad somewhere else. I would still say that we should maintain the High Court. In Mauritius, they have maintained the Supreme Court for very good reasons. If you want court assistance, you go to the Supreme Court. But there's a recognition that some of these processes, especially the coercive mechanisms like arbitration, need the court process. What is needed most is the court support, the support of the court, because the end result is expeditious justice. That's what we are looking for at the end of the day. Yes, the processes should not be formalized. As we come in with a policy, the policy should not be to formalize the processes, but to recognize certain processes and then let them run. The way we've done with mediation, for example, recognize it, but let it run as mediation the way it has always run. So it will not be about formalizing, but we need certain institutions to run certain things. We need certain institutions to look at training. We need certain institutions to look at the discipline of ADR practitioners. We could have a framework that governs ADR without going deep into changing the way it's done. Okay, we could also have recording of ADR outcomes, and that's not formalization, we're just recording it. So it's not a question of making it formal, and we'll avoid, I think, in the overarching policy, to make it formal. But remember, we are looking at local and international mechanisms. So we must make it responsive to the local needs, responsive to the international needs, and also quite transparent. But it will be skeletal. It will be skeletal and directional. We will not tell you mandatorily you must do this, mandatorily you must do this. It's a policy framework, a legal framework which is already there, and certain action plans to entrench ADR within the legal framework. That's the way I look at it. Thank you.
My discussion is actually to focus on the future law firm, taking into context the global aspects of international commercial arbitration. I have a paper, but probably I'll just think out my thoughts, which can then help us, especially for the practitioners in the room, to debate and see where we stand going forward. The growth of international commercial arbitration has spanned off on account of growth in trade volumes across the borders. On account of that growth, what has come forth is a multiplicity of disputes. And the parties involved, the business people involved, have opted more often than not to go the arbitration route.
Chartered Institute of Arbitrators is a global organization headquartered in London in the UK, and it really offers a wide range of ADR services, but prime amongst them is on training, and which is the focus of our discussion this morning. It offers professional development and also vocational training for dispute resolvers who've had an opportunity to already have another primary profession.
When we are talking about cross-disciplinary training and dispute resolution models, we first have to point out what are the models of ADR, and of course this includes negotiation, mediation, arbitration, conciliation, among others.
My question is to Collins. He spoke about law firms of the future. I think it's something we've spoken before about, and my question is about the continuing debate of non-visibility of African practitioners in the international forum. Do you think that losing our identity and making strategic mergers would be a way to go in placing ourselves into this gravy train of law firms of the future? Thank you.
My name is Dr. Eve Hawasinare. I am one of the board members of the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration, representing the region from Tanzania. I've been very encouraged by this conference, by the papers and presentations that were made. We had colleagues from South Africa who form AJAC, and colleagues from China, and we've actually exchanged our experiences on how to make arbitration proceedings and handling the handling of arbitration proceedings more effective than they are today.
The artificial intelligence actually cannot replace the professionals, but we do. One thing I could say with the BAC's practice is, suppose now how to appoint arbitrators. Traditionally, based on a personal experience, even suppose we are an appointing board to appoint the arbitrators, we are based on our experience, our interaction with a specific arbitrators, and to decide this kind of case, we should appoint whom.
My name is Dorcas Endo, an advocate and an arbitrator. My question goes to Dr. Mwigwa on the issue of policy framework and the element of legitimization and formalization of ADR mechanisms. Should we then have one, what are your views on having one document that properly elaborates all the ADR mechanisms, or should the way forward be including an ADR clause in every other legislation?
Mine is really basically a comment. And what I would like to say is this. We need to look at the professional legal training, not just the training as it is now, as you've mentioned, but I think we need to go a little bit further back. What type of training are we offering at the university, and what type of training are we offering at the law school? Sincerely, I think this needs to change. And we need to rehash this whole training. And of course, part of it would be including arbitration in it. I commend Kenyatta University because they're already teaching their students arbitration laws as it is at the undergraduate level.
One of the problems that I see within the legal framework is that we say arbitration when we mean mediation. Okay. I was reading a newspaper today, and there was some headline that had the word arbitration, and I'm sure they meant mediation very, very clearly. So within that policy framework, we would need to unpack it. But there are other structural things we might need to deal with. How do we finance ADR in Kenya? How do we sensitize Kenyans? I had mentioned discipline earlier. Who are the dispute resolvers? Who are they? How do we register them? And we already have the constitution, so how do we bring the ADR mechanisms in line with the constitution? So I'm thinking of a document or a series of documents. I'm not saying there's no policy, by the way, because there are policy documents all over. But how do we bring that under one document that addresses all those concerns and also addresses the very many sub-sectors?
Going forward, we are looking at getting the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration to be the center of choice for people who are looking for a center in which they can have their arbitrations conducted at high standards. And we want to ensure that we not only compete effectively with other arbitration centers, but we create a dispute resolution process that attracts foreign investment significantly into Kenya. That is the whole purpose of having an efficient arbitration center, that investors coming into the country can be assured that in the event of disputes, there will be an efficient and expeditious resolution of those disputes by an impartial and efficient party. And the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration will ensure that that is offered to investors and will ensure that Kenya takes its rightful place as a commercial hub, not just in Africa, but in this region of the world. Thank you.